What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing another small modification on my 2022 Ram 2500. And what we're going to be installing today is a Rough Country dual steering stabilizer. Now the purpose of adding a dual steering stabilizer is to help tighten up your steering a little bit, especially if you plan on running larger wheels and tires, but it really helps stabilize your steering from dealing with any kind of bump steer or any sort of overstimulation that you might feel in your steering wheel from your wheels riding over rough terrain. So adding a dual steering stabilizer is typically a very inexpensive way to fix that. Now there are many different brands of dual steering stabilizers out there, but they pretty much are all the same. The main difference between a lot of them is how fancy do they look and what type of shocks do they come with. But in my opinion, when it comes to a front dual steering stabilizer, I don't even know if those higher end shocks makes a huge difference. Now higher end shocks on your suspension makes a huge difference, but on a dual steering stabilizer, I don't think it's that big of a difference. So on my truck, I just went with one of the most inexpensive dual steering stabilizers that are out there, which is typically from Rough Country. It's a great stabilizer and it comes with the Rough Country shocks. So without further ado, let's jump in and let's check it out. Okay, so this right here is the Rough Country dual steering stabilizer kit. It's going to come with some shock decals. It's going to come with your installation paperwork. It's going to come with a set of Rough Country shocks, which are pretty good, especially for a dual steering stabilizer. Set those aside. Okay, it comes with your main bracket here that's going to mount to your front. That's going to support everything. And then it's going to come with a box of hardware. So let's just go ahead and open that up. Okay, you have your Rough Country front plate that's going to mount to the front. You have a bag of hardware. And you have your side plates that go on either side to connect to your shocks. So again, these are usually not that hard to install. Now again, just to compare value here, this main bracket, not even talking the shocks, okay? Just the main brackets and the side brackets and the hardware, anywhere you look online, that's typically about $200 right there. So when you're out there comparing different prices of dual steering stabilizers, just know that an average bracket kit can run you roughly $200. Being that you could pick up this Rough Country kit, including shocks, for less than 150 bucks, that's why I say this comes in at a great value. So that's basically why I went with this kit. And real quick, it's important to note, in order to install a dual steering stabilizer on your truck, you want to have at least a 2.5-inch leveling kit in the front so that the other steering components of your truck do not rub up against the shocks and these brackets. So you have to have at least a leveling kit to install one of these. You really don't want to install this on a stock height truck. Okay, so if we get down here under the truck, you'll see we need to remove the factory steering stabilizer right here, which is just basically one shock. All you really have to do is take off these 4 bolts to this front plate. There's 1 bolt here, 1 there, and then down below there's 2 more bolts at the bottom. You come over here, you're basically just gonna unbolt this nut right here and drop out your shock from the bottom there. Once we take that out, we're gonna be mounting the new Rough Country mounting plate right here with those 4 bolts there. So let me start working on taking that off and we'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I got the factory steering stabilizer removed. It's just a little messy down here because this truck was undercoated at one point and everything's pretty much covered with like a black undercoating. So now that we got that off, all we have to do is mount the Rough Country stabilizer bracket to those 4 bolts. So let me start getting that mounted and we'll be right back. So what you want to do is take your dual steering stabilizer. Obviously you want the bottom lip that comes in like an L shape. That's going to go on the bottom to wrap around to these 2 holes right there. So we're going to mount it from the top and then it's going to mount just up like that. Okay? But you're going to be reusing your factory bolts that you took out. Now before you put them back in, I would recommend using just a little bit of blue Loctite just to make sure those bolts stay nice and tight. And then we're going to come up through the bottom of here. And then we're going to get it right into the bottom there. And I'm just going to hand tighten it for now. I'm going to get another bolt. Again, a little blue Loctite. And put that in there as well. Again, I'm hand tightening everything right now just so I can get all of my bolts lined up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the top. Again, dab of blue Loctite on the threads. And we're going to come up from the top. It can be a little tricky lining everything up, but if you just take your time, you'll get it. Okay, so now we're done. So basically that's what you want it to look like. So you're going to bolt the 2 factory bolts up top, and then you're going to take the 2 bolts from the bottom. And that's basically all you have to do to mount this main plate. Now all we have to do over here is take our hardware bag over here, get our sleeves. We're just going to put a little grease on them, slide each sleeve through the bushing of each shock, and then we're going to start working on getting our end brackets mounted with the supplied U-bolts over here. And then once we get the brackets all into a general position, we'll start hooking up our shocks. So let me start working on that and I'll be right back. Okay, so we got everything hooked up. So let me just kind of show you how easy this is. Once you get your main bracket installed up here and you get your metal sleeves slid through your shock bushings, you're going to take the main part of the shock, not the extended part, the main part, and mount it to the middle. What you're going to do, you're going to take the main bolt with a washer from the top. Then from underneath, you're going to take your Rough Country front plate, slide it up underneath of there. Then you're going to take your shock, slide that up underneath the Rough Country plate. And then at the very bottom, you're going to take a washer, put a little blue Loctite on your nut, and drive it down nice and tight. Then over here at the end, you're going to pull your extension shock out, and then you're going to slide a bolt with a washer through the shock. Underneath, you're going to put another washer, a little blue Loctite on your nut, and tighten that down. You're going to do the same thing on this side over here. Now, what I did to make sure everything was even is, if you see over here, there's a ledge right here to where your U-bolts can't go any further to the right. So I took my U-bolt all the way up to that ledge. And then with my truck straight and the front wheel straight, after tightening that down, I measured this distance right here, which was 3.5 inches. And then over here, I measured 3.5 inches right here, and then adjusted my bracket over here accordingly, tighten everything down nice and tight with some blue Loctite on those nuts. And then at the very end, I just took my Rough Country decals, stuck them on the front of the shocks, and now we're all done. And then the last thing you want to do is just kind of drive your truck back and forth real quick, turning your wheel all the way to the left, and then turn your wheel all the way to right to make sure you're not being restricted at all, which I've already done. And based on the 3.5 inches extended here, and the 3.5 inches extended over here, everything seems to work nice and good. So now we got the Rough Country dual steering stabilizer installed, and it looks really good, and I have a little bit more tighter feedback on my steering, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So at the end of the day, my overall impressions of the Rough Country dual steering stabilizer, I definitely give it a thumbs up and give it a go. It was very easy to install, everything lined up, everything bolted down, everything fit perfectly. And now my steering feedback is a little tighter, which is what I want, because I'm running dual shocks, one on each side instead of one main shock on the passenger side. So again, as long as you have at least a 2.5 inch leveling kit on your truck, you can run this dual steering stabilizer, and it's going to give you a little bit more tighter feedback to your steering overall. Okay, everybody, so we're all done. We went ahead and we got the Rough Country dual steering stabilizer installed on my 2022 Ram 2500. Again, I do have a Rough Country 2.5 inch leveling kit on my truck as well, so you want to make sure you have at least a 2.5 inch leveling kit or larger lift kit in order to run this dual steering stabilizer. But as long as you do, you'll be good to go. So again, everything was very easy to install, everything lined up. Everything works perfect, and I'm really happy with this overall purchase. So if you're thinking about adding a dual steering stabilizer to your truck, definitely check out the Rough Country dual steering stabilizer, because it's a great quality product and it comes in at a great value. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this video helps some of you out. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.